Okay, so I think we're good to go. We got the okay from the AV team. Whoop whoop AV team. And let's
Yay.
I know, right? Look, let's leave this on there so they know that they getting shout out. Like AV team, you rock. I appreciate you. I know they have meetings. So they are like, please hurry up. So greetings, Quantum Quarks. I'm Ambericent Cornett, your guide for today's session in the STEAM Speaker Series, proudly brought to you by AWIS DC. Oh my gosh, forgetting my own acronyms, and sponsored by Camilico LLC. As president-elect of the AWIS DC chapter or AWIS chapter, I leverage my extensive background spanning over 22 years across federal service, financial, and public health sectors to bring to you what seems to be amazing and astonishing women like this in STEM. I am an expert in intelligence and information operations as well as cybersecurity, and currently progressing through the dissertation stage of my quantum technology doctorate, which is why I talk to people like Lorraine every day. So, my career portfolio includes significant roles in engineering program management and space medicine epidemiology at NASA Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, as well as expertise in global migration and zoonotic infectious disease epidemiology with the CDC, to name a few things. I know I'm winded. So today, event continues our tradition of showcasing the diverse talents within STEAM, which are science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. And we are bringing medicine, so stay tuned. Our speakers, from emerging talents to established experts, are from all over the globe and here locally. So we do contribute to the population for the DC individuals that are in the STEM field, but we like to go outside of the box sometimes too. So it is my privilege, my esteemed pleasure to introduce today's exceptional guest and valued friend, Miss Lorraine Tsitsi Majiri. So Lorraine is a pioneering figure in quantum technology, especially through her leadership roles in OneQuantum Africa and as a founding member of QZimbabwe. Her efforts are instrumental in educating and raising awareness about quantum technologies across the continent of Africa. Yes, you heard me. This lady has some footwork going on. So please welcome Lorraine, the president at OneQuantum Africa and the founding member of QZimbabwe. Lorraine has been a pivotal individual. She's held a pivotal role in promoting quantum technology in Zimbabwe and beyond with a Bachelor's of Science honors degree in information technology from Chinhoye, right? I got it. University of Technology.
Got it.
Okay, good. I told her to correct me if I pronounce this wrong because my Texan accent is doomed to just take me out. Uh, and pursuing her Master's of Science in Big Data Analytics, she deeply involves herself into organizing workshops and hosting talks and webinars with quantum experts from various sectors. As a leader in quantum development, Lorraine is dedicated to making quantum computing accessible and raising its awareness among all future potential users and educational institutions across Africa. She is no small, no small cherry in this pick. I promise you. That is phenomenal. Just want to say. So I'm gonna keep it moving because I'm girl fanning over here. Um, so Lorraine stands as a testament to the innovation and leadership emerging from the new generation of women in STEAM. Her efforts in promoting and democratizing the quantum technology not only underscores her technical prowess. I can't talk today, I swear, but also her commitment to educational outreach and community development. So, welcome, Lorraine, our quantum champion and technology trailblazer. It is a pleasure to have you here with us today to share your journey and your insights for quantum technology across the entire stretch of the continent of Africa. So, how are you today? I know we had crazy stuff going on this morning. It was all my fault, I promise you. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks. The weather is slightly becoming warm where I'm at, so I'm happy about that. Summer is slowly kicking in, so yeah, um, I'm good, and I hope you are too.
Yeah, I am now because I get to talk about things quantum. Um, and we're actually rolling into kind of like the more fall-ish parts of the year where we're like in the mid 80s. So I think we're kind of like slowly kind of tipping the scale a little bit. So I'm glad. I'm glad y'all getting a break. Um, so I am seriously overjoyed, overpowered, expired. Like I can't tell you how much, like me and Lorraine have been talking over the last couple of weeks and kind of developing what's going on here. So we have a lot to discuss. So today we're going to discuss your impactful work in quantum technologies and community building. We have a lot to go over, and I'm super confident that the audience that is watching us stumble over my words will be inspired to probe deeper into the transformative world of quantum computing and quantum technology. So, just to kind of give you all a little bit of a caveat, anything that we talk about in forms of acronyms or any technical terms that may come up in this segment, we'll make sure that we clarify them before we move on, so you don't have to go and pull your cell phone and find a dictionary to figure out what the heck we're talking about. Any key elements, anything in this conversation. So, for Lorraine's discussion, we'll talk about the mission and activities of OneQuantum Africa and QZimbabwe, and her role in both of these initiatives, as well as all the other stuff that she's got on her plate. I don't know how she juggles it. But first, Lorraine, could you start off by well, giving us a little bit of maybe background that I may have missed, and explain what quantum computing and quantum technology is, and what we hope, uh, to gather from this situation in Africa versus what is here in the U.S. And then we'll hop into like your educational journey thus far, like right after. So take it away.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here. I'm excited. I know we have been talking about this for a while, and it's my honor to be here and to on this wonderful platform that lets women shine, which is great. Um, Yeah, like that is always a question you always hear often, like what is quantum computing? And even after so many years in the space, it's like one of the hardest questions to answer. But I would say, because my background, like you already mentioned, my background is in IT. So, with time I did notice, oh, physics is actually interesting and is an interesting part of quantum. But I would say from, a more layman's view where I'm standing at, I would say, quantum computing is using, the phenomenon of quantum mechanics, which I learned about from, yeah, from my brother who actually did physics because I didn't. But yeah, there is quantum mechanics. And so it's making use of those phenomenons and maybe in computing. So it's an emerging tech that surprisingly has been there for long, but not so long. It's like, somewhere in the sweet spot because, it's been an interesting journey watching it unfold, watching it grow. And I think it's like any technology where, before the internet, we had like the very, very big phones, the ones with the buttons. Then we had the small, yeah, the floppy disks to the CDs to the flash drive. So I feel it's also in technology that's evolving in such a manner.
Yeah, and we're here. Like I, I could, I can pretty much say that I remember the big phones, which definitely is telling what yeah, the ones that you used to have to they're almost as big as, I don't know if the audience seen satellite phones, but the satellite phones we used to use when we were um on deployment in like Iraq and Afghanistan, literally like they were this big. So yeah, they had those same type of phones, just a different color here in the US, and I grew up seeing some of that stuff from my parents, and then kind of like the evolution from like the oh my God, Primeco and Motorola phones to like what we have today with iPhone, and the weird conflict between iPhones and like what's the ones that they have, the Samsung phones and things like that. There's a fight in my house about it. So there you go. But yeah, as you can tell, I'm an iPhone user, so I've seen all the generations and just the changes over the years. And I can anticipate quantum being the same evolutionary period of like technology advancements and things like that. So I love your inclusion of quantum mechanics, because I think that was something that was not heard in previous conversations about quantum computing and quantum technology. So thank you for putting that out there. So if you interested in like engineering and things like that, quantum mechanics kind of play a big part in the focus of quantum technology and then rolling into quantum computing. Um, so let's talk about all things Lorraine right now. So Lorraine, could you share what inspired you to become the president at OneQuantum Africa, and what were your primary goals in this role? Like, what have you carried out thus far?
Right. So initially I was the president of OneQuantum Zimbabwe, but I did join OneQuantum Africa when it started out, because the global organization of OneQuantum that was split into OneQuantum Africa as one of the subgroups, but it was more of a continental effort. And then we decided, for better outreach as the world was opening up, post-COVID, to have localized chapters where it's like we have like OneQuantum Zimbabwe, OneQuantum Zambia, Ghana, Libya, and so on. So we have a couple of local chapters in Africa, but initially I was the president of OneQuantum Zimbabwe. And in that effort, my goal was to raise awareness about quantum technologies, because at some point I also didn't know about quantum technologies. I didn't know it existed. I just thought, you know, I was clueless, because like I mentioned, I didn't exactly do physics. I was more of counting computing side of things. I did commercials in high school.
Right.
So I was like, wow, okay, there's this technology and so many people don't know about it. So why not make an effort to make sure, everyone is aware about it? It's like, people can choose from different fields that, oh, I want to do mathematics, I want to do art, I want to do, because they've been exposed and are aware that such fields exist. So I wanted to create the same environment where people know such a technology exists and start building and fostering relations, because I feel quantum is good in that it embeds a lot of other fields whereby, people in art can work on quantum, and, there's an element of that, and, how music has waves, and, it's this whole interesting space of it. So, that combination. So it was, creating awareness and letting people in other fields know how to merge with those who are already working in quantum and get that merge. So I think after about a year as the president of OneQuantum Zimbabwe, I was elected to be the president for OneQuantum Africa, and it has been an amazing journey. I mean, like anything else, there's ups and downs. But yeah, we've been putting effort in trying to create awareness, trying to, especially the youth. Africa is one of those continents where the largest population are the youth. So, we're trying to get to a point whereby they are the future. So, catch them young, watch them grow, let them be aware of quantum technologies, let them start thinking about, okay, in the next 5 years, based on where we are at in Africa, what can we use this emerging technology to do? How can we leverage it so that, we make the most of it? I mean, of course, there are some hurdles that we are still yet to jump, but till we get there, there are things that we can do to be prepared. So yeah, that's been the effort to make sure that we get this. So one of our main pillars is community. So we try to have as many community activities as possible. So this could be just gatherings online, but just give people a reason to be like, hey, let's meet up. Let's, there's quantum. That's the topic, but let's meet up and discuss that. So that's how the journey has been so far.
And I mean, for you to be elected among, I mean, probably a ton of people is phenomenal in itself, because that means that they saw like the leadership potential and the work that you've already accomplished so far. So they trusted you very well out to put you in this role. And I'm so glad, because you've done so much to really hone in and synthesize and like balance out what Africa is doing as far as like their quantum technology development, and being one of those world champions where we can all do a collaboration effort and maybe work together on some, future projects. And hopefully this conversation beams that for you guys, because I know like I would love to have like a simple world where everything is, harmonized, and we can all just work together to forward everybody's processes and make sure that quantum is accessible for everybody, because it's a tool. It's just a tool, just like the internet was, just like cell phones are, just like any kind of communication technology. And to advance all of that in a continent as great as Africa, that would be amazing. Um, so let's talk about initiatives. So what specific initiatives have you championed at OneQuantum Africa to enhance quantum technology and the sector of quantum across the continent?
So we've been, I mean, aside from raising awareness, because so this means trying to have conversations with people in academia, people in government, people in industry. Um, so we've been trying to have, and we've been having those conversations to try and see, especially our focus recently has been, to try and focus to bridge the gap between industry and academia, whereby, people can be taught what can be applied in industry. So, we're
Right.
trying to bridge that gap. So we've been having those conversations. We've also been collaborating with other, well-wishers and organizations that are interested in, providing either their platforms for people to learn. So we've been trying to have educational workshops, and yeah, we've planned some. We also try to mainly create awareness. So like I mentioned, that community is our big effort. We are very Ubuntu, as Africans, so yeah, we really ride on that Ubuntu element, which is more of, people togetherness. So in that we have community efforts whereby we try to meet up and, raise awareness, share ideas. Your network is your network, so network.
Yeah.
So those are some of the initiatives we are trying. We've also had a mentorship program that's run. Of late, we haven't started a new cohort, but we've had a mentorship program that I really thought was impactful. And from the feedback, it turns out it actually was. So I think these are some of the small things that I feel also make a big difference. So we are still championing them and making sure that they work out.
Yeah, and I mean, and that was one of the things that I that really resonated, because ever since I've been really doing this speaker series, it's almost like my communication with the people that are on the platform kind of swap like network structures. So like I'll get some of yours, and then you'll get some of mine. And I think that's pretty cool, because like now it puts you in the room of conversation, especially when it's talking about expanding the network opportunities and the promotion of what you're doing as a STEM, social dynamic in that area or that arena that you're focused on in STEM. So I think that's awesome. And for us to do any kind of collaborative efforts, we have to know who we need to talk to. So that's a big, big thing. And I'm glad that OneQuantum has enhanced like the tech sector for you guys and been like that platform that you guys needed to kind of catapult you into the conversation with other strategists in this field. So that's awesome. So how do you navigate the challenges of leading a quantum technology community in such a diverse and dynamic region? Because Africa is not small. You started off in Zimbabwe, but now you've, atoned the whole continent now. So how has that altered like life for you?
Um, you know, with Africa as a continent, like you mentioned, it's large, so it's very diverse also. So it means there are so many other cultures that I got to learn. You get to learn about, very a lot of similarities. You
Oh,
also
you're
learn how
cutting.
to navigate.
Okay, I got you back. I got you back. No, you're good. You're good.
Okay. Um, so I would say one of the main things that has helped me out has been teamwork. OneQuantum Africa is a team effort, so I'm really grateful for the team that I work with. Because there are people who are experts in different fields. Some have backgrounds in business intelligence, some telecommunications. So that helps us. You know, if we feel that okay, we need to target the telecommunications people, how do we get to them? If someone on the team knows how to speak that language, then they can speak it better. So it's been
Right.
really a team effort to make this work and navigate, because Africa is a continent. We have different governments, and in trying to reach out to them, it would need someone who speaks their language, who understands how they work, to get to them. So that has helped us to get a whole lot of different companies or governments to actually take a look and be like, okay, this is something we can think about, because we've been able to work as a team and see who can communicate and do what and structure that. So it's been teamwork. I'm grateful for the team that I'm working with, because they've really done a great job and still do so.
Yeah, and I mean, like the economic growth potential behind all that you do is like definitely there. So I can't wait to see what you do in the next like 2 years because it does not take long these days. It's not where you think you'd see something in the next 10, 20 years. It's not decades that go by these days anymore. It's like a couple of years and everything has been fabricated into what you've anticipated that you would be able to, kind of graft out and design for even like quantum itself. I know that like over the past few years, I've seen so many developments that it's like astounding. So I can't wait. And speaking of, can you discuss any upcoming projects or collaborations that excite you about OneQuantum Africa that you see, coming down the pipeline that you're working with right now?
So we have a project running with InstaQT, and so that's a project headed by some universities in the UK. So we are participants in this project, and so the main effort of the project is to use quantum computing to solve some of the challenges in Africa, like maybe water loss in pipes
Okay.
when it's being transported to houses. So it's a 3-year project, and it's yet to complete in 2025. So yeah, I'm excited to hear about the results of that. I think another interesting um, effort that I'm excited about is actually tomorrow on the 9th, we have an equity, diversity, and inclusion event that we are hosting. And I'm excited about that because I think sometimes, equity, diversity, inclusion, these are sometimes topics that we overlook. So, I'm
Yeah.
interested in hearing and having the discussion to know in the quantum technology space in Africa, like what can we do better? I guess we can be doing this, but maybe we can do it better. So I'm interested in hearing about that. And we also have some programs that we are looking to run for high school students towards the end of the year. And I think the coming term for high school students is less easy. So we also hope we are planning to participate participate in more career fairs for high school students so that they can be aware that, hey, quantum technologies is an option when you are choosing a career path and, not something that they discover later on. But, the sooner they know, the better, I think.
Yeah, I mean, start them young, especially when you have access to the technology and you can do it
Yeah.
safely, securely. And, students love experiments and things like that, especially when it deals with technology-based experiments. Like the old, pouring different colors is a thing of the past. We like mechanisms of like, problem solving and ethical hacking and things like that. So, that's going to be fun. I'm excited. I would love to see that in action and to hear that you're actually doing something with, a collaborative effort with the UK is like extraordinary because I mean, you would think that you try to like kind of keep it in house, but you're actually already developing that focal point to kind of extrapolate that and go out and beyond what the borders of Africa kind of lie. So that's really cool. Um, I'm glad. And when you make it to the US and start doing stuff collaboratively over here, please let me know. I'd like to know because I would love to be involved. That would be too cool. So we're gonna hop over into like the founding of QZimbabwe. So we're kind of backpedaling, but we'll be going forward in a second. So as the founding member of QZimbabwe, what challenges did you face in raising awareness about quantum technologies in Zimbabwe?
So I think one of the main challenges that I face and, talking to people about, hey, quantum computing was that because my background is in IT, majority of the people I spoke to assume, it's for people in computing. So, why should we pay attention? So, it took effort to tell people, no, it's not for people in IT only, it's not for physicists, you know, there are ways for you to also, collaborate. There are ways for you to hear how it could help you. So maybe that was one of the challenges of, demystifying, like it's a very inclusive technology. So no need to put yourself on the sideline. Um, I think also resources, because sometimes you'd want a high school maybe to be interested, but would not fully have the adequate resources for you to try that and carry out experiments. So, you have to look at what can you do to mitigate that challenge because you don't want to leave anyone out. And
Right.
in the time that we mainly founded Q Zimbabwe, which was I think around 2021, there was still a bit more of the COVID era, so it meant things were online. So I mean that was good in that, yeah, we got a lot of people, but then there are also people who are located in remote areas where they don't have
Yeah.
stable internet connectivity. So what about those people? So that was one of the challenges that we had, that, we couldn't exactly reach out to those people. But yeah, with the opening of the world, yeah, we've managed to also have, people have been in the remote areas, know about the technology, visit those places, tell them about it, let them know it's something to think about and a technology that they could also, make use of. So yeah, so those were some of the challenges we faced. And also, there are still some challenges in terms of how acceptable it is. Um, there
Yeah.
are still fears about, oh, okay, in this technological era and AI, people are like, is how safe is it, in terms of cybersecurity? So people are also, it's something that people also think about and would want to know, how safe is it? Are they safe with this emerging technology? Is their information safe? Is
Yeah.
their data safe? So it's one of those fears that people had that has been a bit of a hurdle in our program.
Yeah. And I mean, in case anybody in the audience doesn't know, from the time that we started doing anything IT, anything technology based, there was a little bit of fear. It's always a fear for the unknown, right? But then you get into cybersecurity and you hear all about these hackings, these probes, these nuances of things crashing, the CrowdStrike situation, where that had a global impact. And you think, okay, well, quantum technology is supposed to rapidize everything that we're doing. It's supposed to quantify everything and make it absolute instead of a thought or a premonition or some type of like not indicative promotion of elements. So now we're getting to finite details, and it's almost as scary as, okay, we know we have issues with AI and developing people fake monikers of themselves and doing things overseas and doing things in the US, and it starts to get a little scary. So when you start talking about quantum being one of those more rapid forces, it's like, okay, whoa, we haven't even gotten out of the technology that turned to cybersecurity, and now you want us to digest quantum too? Like, who do you think you are? So so it's almost like you have to, politely spoon feed society into accepting these differences and these variations of like how technology is evolving so that it doesn't have that innate fear and disposition in people's minds. And I think that that's going to be, it's a gift and a curse. And unfortunately, you're going to have to deal with it, especially bringing it to remote areas where technology is not so everyday. And that's something that, everybody should be, grateful for. The people like you that want to bring technology to those areas that don't really have it so that they have access to the world as itself, right? So, gonna get off my soapbox, but um, so what are or what were some of the initial objectives of Q Zimbabwe, and then how have those actual objectives evolved?
So one of our main, I mean, still is objectives was to raise awareness about quantum technologies and educate anyone who's interested. And it started out as a case of you want to learn quantum computing, yeah, because we have like the Q Bronze workshop where it's more like an introductory workshop on quantum computing. But as people got to learn about quantum computing, it's now something that we are now thinking of, and that has changed is what next, because okay, someone doesn't know about quantum computing, they now know about it, they now know how to run a circuit and yeah, the basics of it. What now? So so it's always been, so after a while we realized, okay, it's like we are taking people from one point and then to the next, and then we are not somewhat, we haven't created paths for people to figure out what could be next. So one of our objectives now is to help, either, link with academia or connect with industry such that people know that, okay, when I'm learning, how can I apply this? Like, because you just want to learn like, oh, okay, how, entanglement, and then that's it. So you want people to have what next from there? Okay, I know entanglement. Okay, how can I apply it? Oh, I can apply it in XYZ and so forth. So one of how it has evolved is that we realize, once people are educated, we also need to give them platforms to make use of that
Yeah.
knowledge. It could be companies, it could be, also teaching others. So, once people have that knowledge, we are now working on making sure that they have either, somewhere to apply that knowledge or share it with others, and not just sort of be stagnant, like, this and it ends there.
And there you have it. Because I mean, you probably had one type of focus and then it evolved to another focus because you saw the problem and the transition. And that's how most people in these positions see their focus change. Like I know as far as AWIS, we had dynamics that we already had in place, but because I was coming in fresh, I was like, okay, this makes sense for us to kind of promote and hone in on the community and the DMV and try to like mitigate the situations that we already have. Like, okay, we have this problem. How do we fix it? We have this membership constraint. How do we fix it? So I'm glad that Q Zimbabwe was able to kind of move in the direction of the faculties of the people and not really lose its construct and compass in the whole scheme of things. So that's awesome. Um, can you describe a particularly successful event or initiative that Q Zimbabwe has undertaken? Probably plenty, but let's,
Um,
yeah, just pick. I mean, I don't know how.
I
Go ahead.
Okay, so recently, one of the local high schools in Zimbabwe, in the capital, they had like they had career fair day. So they had people from other different fields, finance, the medical side, and yeah, they also had the quantum side, which was represented by QZimbabwe. So that was very interesting that, we're actually getting to high schools that are not so technologically advanced, but at least they're getting to know about this and they can start planning. So that was a great successful initiative that I'm happy about because that happened and it was in person. So yeah, it's good as the world is opened up.
I'm glad because I mean, yeah, most people say, okay, I'm going to go into finance or I'm going to go into engineering or medical because that's kind of the way that the parents kind of point you. But I see such a broad spectrum of jobs in quantum technology. And I mean, if you get in early, you become the SME by the time it actually takes off, right? So that's what
Yeah.
that's what we're doing, right? So looking forward to the entire dynamic of what you're doing, what are the long-term plans for Q Zimbabwe in terms of community engagement and education?
Um, our long-term plans, right now I think over the past 2-3 months, we've really managed to establish roots in a couple of high schools and universities. So now our plans are to actually have in-person workshops there because we feel online, one person might have one challenge or the other, but in person, at least, we teach two people, or they teach three, and, it's like this whole growth effect. So that's what we are
Right.
hoping to do. So yeah, we're excited that we have high schools and universities that are interested in taking part in that. We've also had people in industry that are like, okay, maybe let's have discussions about this. So we are planning hackathons so that we could come up with quantum solutions for those industries. So yeah, you know how, like you mentioned, that people are excited to try new things and be really hands on. So I mean, it will not be my first time, but I'm also excited about being hands on with that. But those are our future plans.
See, and you just exposed one of my future plans for AWIS because we had a board meeting yesterday, and I brought up the notion of us doing our own hackathon, and I've even came up with like some cute names because that's the thing I do. I do the cutesy names, and like let me know what your hackathon is gonna look like, and if we can graft it probably like around the same time, that would kind of be impressive to run like a hacking notion around the same time where we can develop one here and you guys kind of like integrate into that one and then vice versa where we integrate into the ones that you guys are doing. I'm thinking maybe like a 1 day situation for ours, but yeah, let's definitely talk offline about that because I've done one before where I've actually like helped put it together and everything for people that were learning cybersecurity and like the new technology, people that haven't been in cybersecurity at all. They come from different backgrounds and then they want to get into this field. So we did a hackathon for them and loved it. So I'm really like I don't even have to cross my fingers because this is gonna happen. So let's just put it that way. So let's talk about quantum education initiatives because that's kind of like how we're diving into this anyway. We're already talking about focusing on bringing people into hackathons and just for the people on the conversation. Just so you know, hackathons are not just for the super you know geekdified people that know computers and always, doing the computer technology based codes and algorithms all day. It's for anybody. You could be in policy, you can be in, oh my gosh, what else? Finance, you can be in political science, you can be in Oh my God, give me some backgrounds. You could be in math, you could be in science, but you can also be in like history, prior defense background, things like that. But all this plays a part when you're dealing with hack systems because in a hackathon, it actually breaks down different components to actually develop a conversation and get to a capture the flag goal at the end of the day. So, um, whenever you have those hackathons that include other people, other kind of like backgrounds and trace elements, they try to include historical measures and mathematical equations and things like that. So we definitely got to talk about one. But just so you all know that hackathons are not just for the individuals that do code all day. It's for anybody that wants to try their hand in, being a part of the analysis and prediction method behind the hackathon and then capture flag piece. Um, but back to education. So, so you've been instrumental in organizing workshops and seminars. So, what are the key lessons that you've learned from these experiences about educating others in quantum computing?
Um, so one of the key things that I've learned is, simplify. Like, don't try to make it as, complex or as techy as possible, but, simplify, know your audience because, when you simplify, everyone gets to understand because you're trying to help everyone understand. So, simplify whatever concept you want to talk about. Um, use examples that, people can relate to if possible. um yeah, and so yeah, simplification is really gone a long way. Sometimes it takes time to really break down a concept and make it simple, but the more you do that, the more people understand and the more they start thinking, and I even interested in reading more about it and exploring. Oh, okay, there's this. Oh, okay, there's that. So it's really been a point of simplify, simplify, simplify.
Yeah, and especially if somebody is like so novice that they could possibly like mentally check out if they don't understand it. I think that that's one of the goals as like alignment as like a professor in science. You have people that are taking this course because they have a requirement to fill in a science role, and then they leave out understanding biology all the better because that person was able to break it down in terms to not make them feel like they're just not intelligent enough to catch the whole concept, but they put it in a way to where it makes sense. It was kind of twisted in a way to make the concept understandable and relatable, and then they got the concept, so the flow of communication just kept going. So I like that kind of perspective for sure. um, how do you tailor your educational programs to cater to diverse audiences with like the varying levels of understanding about quantum tech?
So whenever giving a presentation, it's always important to know your audience so that you know that so that you try to be as accommodative as possible. So if you're talking to people who are more advanced, at least okay, I can talk at this level. If, there are people who are just beginning, then okay, you have to start from the very start of things. From the very basic, maybe mathematics of it. So I think it really takes effort in understanding your audience, and then you tailor to know that okay, if I start from this point, I can grab them because there is no harm in repetition. So even if other people know it and you repeat it, still good. Some concepts I had to learn them like maybe in 5 courses for me to actually be like, okay, now I get it. So it could be that moment for them also. So yeah, you try to make sure that you understand your audience, and then you make sure that you cover things that everyone can be understanding of.
Yeah, and I've had a I'm not gonna lie, I've had a couple of aha moments myself because in one class I'll say, okay, I'll give the glaze over look and I'm just staring like, and eventually when I do get it, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Oh, that was really I struggled with that so long, and now I get it. So like the light bulb comes on, and I mean, even with the background of like, science, and I'm talking about heavy science. Like I've been in science for years, and even I struggle with it. So it's nothing wrong with people coming into this notion and not knowing everything about the elemental properties of like quantum tech. It's just you you're going to get lost, and that's okay. I think people are fearful of getting into the quantum world because they're scared of not knowing or not knowing it well enough to be able to catch on. But that's one of the nuances that we like in quantum is that we don't catch on automatically. So what feedback have you received from, any of your participants as far as the educational circumstances, and how has it shaped your educational activities?
So some of the feedback we got for some concepts, we've gotten feedback that, okay, we have really understood this, so they've been well explained. But in some cases, we've also gotten feedback that, yeah, we got the concept, but we also would want to know about where to apply it. So we've now been really making effort to make sure that we have, maybe it could just be a session, or, have some speakers from industry talk about areas of application of quantum computing. Because yes, people, are happy to learn and they learn things, but then they also want to know that, okay, I've learned this, so where do I apply it? Like, how is
Yep.
it applicable in real life? We live in a world where you want to know that, okay, I can apply this there. So yeah, I think that has been a gap that we have been trying to fill from our feedback that we got.
Yeah, and that makes a ton of sense. And if the audience knows anything about this series, we had an individual on here that was actually doing applied physics, which is completely different from theoretical physics. 'Cause theoretical is only talking about something that, is theorized. It's not really put into fruition like something that's applied where you can physically see the results or you can actually calculate results. So that makes a big, big difference. So yeah, I'm glad that that was incorporated and y'all were able to kind of hone in on like industry knowledge and show people like you're learning quantum computing, you're learning quantum technology, you're learning quantum mechanics, but where does that lead? I'm glad because that showing the showmanship of it all is where the gravitational pull happens for people to understand where they could line up their careers and focus when they get from the classroom effort to actual knowledge based circumstances where they can use whatever practical knowledge they've gained from you guys, especially with QZimbabwe. That's awesome. So, what role do you see virtual platforms playing in the future of quantum education, especially after this pandemic? Because I mean, pandemic put us in a situation where we were all digital all the time. There was meetings online, kind of like this meeting with the Zoom. Um, where do you see virtual platforms kind of putting or positioning themselves in the future of quantum education?
Um, so with virtual platforms, I mean, I got into quantum like during mainly that COVID era, and it was all online. I think probably last year was when I had like my first in-person event that I got to attend, like that are quantum centered. But I feel that as the world is opening up, there is a bit of, maybe not so many as before, global events that are like virtual. Like we would have summer schools or workshops happen online because that's where everyone was. But now, I mean, if you want to have a workshop in DC now, I mean, things have opened up enough that you can. So it means that other people around the world who would want to join might not be able to join because of the traveling and so forth. But at the same time, I feel like as a whole, we are in an era whereby, technology is like virtual platforms. Because, I look at my 9-year-old niece and, she has a tablet, she knows how to operate that. And, but like at 9 years, the best I could do was, once in a while when my dad is away, he steal his phone, play, rapid role or something like that. But now we are at a point where they have access to that. So it means they have more access to the educational material. So I feel that, we can get more people by making use of those virtual platforms, in that they are more common than they were before. So I feel like more people can be included now. So I feel like, virtual platforms will really help, like push this technology forward in that, a lot of people can be incorporated in that. And the few that are not, they still, because of the world opening up, still in person can happen. But, there's still that option of virtual also, which incorporates a lot of.
Yeah, and you said you said iPads, and that made me chuckle a little because I mean, my niece is gonna be 4 in December, and I don't. I know that her educational prominence has kind of been supported with an iPad, but these days, a lot of kids they have an iPad, they have the access to the mobile opportunity of learning things and stuff like that. But some of I don't know, the generation that's coming up are coming out a lot smarter than we give them credit. So we're gonna see a lot of changes in the development of education, especially on the virtual platforms when it comes to the next generations coming up. That's gonna be really interesting to watch. So let's talk about, speaking of communities, let's talk about like the impact of quantum on local communities. So how do you see quantum computing impacting local communities in Africa, like particularly in terms of education and economic development? This was a doozy, so yeah.
Um, so I would, with quantum, like, because Africa is still fairly growing in terms of the technology, I feel there's still a lot of room for growth in that, because when people learn about the technology, they could be startups in that field, in terms of quantum. So that also creates, employment opportunities for other people, and it helps, with unemployment rates and so forth. I'm looking at, I'm running my mind thinking about, the structure of Zimbabwe, because I've had quantum workshops for maybe youth, for different youth groups. They could be, religious-based youth groups, but, just trying to make sure that, people have, youth, once they're done with school, they are not just on the streets unoccupied. So, try to be like, hey, like there's this, just come learn for free and you figure out how you can apply it. So I feel with that community effort and that growth, there could be more startups which could help, with employment. There could also be a good link between academia and industry, such that even, people could come up with projects that help industry, and, either
Yep.
it be employment created in that effort, or it could be whereby there are more activities like hackathons, like we already talked about, where, people be like, oh, okay, we've learned this, so let's help this company help solve this problem, by doing this. So I think that is how a community effort, and how maybe the economy could be improved with quantum. So really looking forward to a future where, that really works out in full motion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like curious to know like some of the issues that you guys see on a daily basis that could possibly be, you know, fixed and corrected with quantum standards. That's going to be interesting to say the least. So yeah, let me know, and and we could talk about like the transition and trying to figure out some forward works for things like that. Can you give examples of how quantum technologies might solve like specific problems faced in African communities today? Because of course we're across the globe. We don't know what you guys deal with, and vice versa on a daily basis, other than what's prominent in the news. So can you give us examples of like a couple of problems that you guys are facing that could be solved by quantum?
So one of the recent hackathons I attended, the NYU Abu Dhabi hackathon, I think it was last year, one of their solutions was in terms of using quantum for power grids and, helping with the electricity issue. And electricity is a prominent, challenge in Africa. Like, having electricity for 24 hours continuous is something that's like shocking in certain areas. So it's very, we have electrical devices and we have that, but we don't have the electricity. So, it could be by problems of, some of them are hydropowered electric facilities, and I don't know, maybe there could be water issues. But I think it would really help if we come up with, how to have maybe more, either working on different sources of electricity, or how to use the power that we already have, like the electricity, the power grids that we have, to optimize and maybe have a better, maybe power distribution to help with that. And I think another thing for me is climate change, because, Africa, we really thrive on agriculture. So there's a lot of agriculture that goes on. So I feel like, with climate change, things like rain, like currently, the Southern Africa, we're experiencing drought. So, with better predictions in terms of climate, there could be better planning in terms of, okay, with the water that we have, how can we structure our farming such that, when the drought comes, or how to either prevent that, but when the drought comes, we are better prepared, because, there was better focus in that sense. So really hoping in those areas of, like, climate change, quantum really, push through for us, such that, we can be better prepared for things that help in our agricultural regions.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. So funny you would mention that forecasting, because that's one of the things that I'm working on in my program is forecasting, being able to take knowledge that you already have, historical remnants, and turn it into something that is, almost finite, and replicate it to where you understand what the controls are and what the changes are, and be able to kind of build that all encompass, like, intuition to be able to inform what the agricultural situation is going to be, what the climate control is going to be, what the electrical situation is going to be. Like, that would be amazing to be able to do some forecasted measures, and then kind of like really push and propagate, like, the expansion of, hey, we want to expand this, we want to reduce this, so that it's, spans across the country a little bit more even focused, instead of, the sporadic changes. So, like, I see that as, like, a really good focus for quantum to be kind of allocated towards. So I hope that, I like the ministries and everything. I hope that the governments in your area really focus on that, and, like, put money into that investment opportunity. That would be awesome. And hopefully they call you, because you need to be in the forefront. Um, what, speaking of, the government spaces and things, what partnerships are you developing to ensure that the benefits of quantum computing are accessible to a broader audience? And I'm pretty sure I probably answered my own question, because I talked about, like, putting, money and investment opportunities into quantum from, like, the countries, financial disbursements. But yeah, you tell me, so so I'm more educated, please.
Yeah, but like you already mentioned, which is correct, we would want okay we hope that there is more support, and, like, for the partnership, I think really, I think collaboration is important. So it's, like, definitely, the partnership. So, academia and industry should not be so far off from each other, because I feel like once the two come together and approach government, and, I feel like there can be a better, you know, response in terms of funding to help with this project, I hope. And, I'm working on that, they could be that, partnership, and henceforth, the government could be more responsive in, funding this project. But I mean, we've also had, partnerships with other organizations abroad, and they're also are willing to help. So that's also great. That feel like the quantum community is generally friendly and supportive. So you notice
Yeah.
that some of the challenges we face in Africa, there are also other continents and areas that face those, and they're like, oh, we had that problem, we tackled this in this way, oh, we approached our government that way. So in terms of exchanging information, you're like, okay, we can also try that approach. So hopefully, yeah, that will help and help make it a success.
That would be awesome because I mean, like, why are we even? Why would we have another country reinvent the wheel if we've already got a freaking prominent situation going? We could just trade knowledge. It's so simple, and the community behind that you build, the trust and everything. I know that's like a really big opportunity for us to collaborate. So I hope that I'm crossing my fingers. Like I hope that that's a thing that they continue to do. Um, we don't do gatekeeping on this platform, so we hope that Quantum don't do gatekeeping either. So um, how? Let me see. Okay, so how do you measure the impact of quantum computing initiatives on local communities, like your own scale?
Um, I mean, we try to get feedback from people. So carry out surveys and try to figure out, okay, how are people taking it. We also try to get feedback and try to find out, like if you talk to people from academia or government, from different institutions, do they know about quantum, so that we know that, okay, how much outreach have we managed to have, like how much further do we have to go. So those are some of the things we do. We also try to look at the metrics of, okay, at this high school, how many people do we have and how many people can they also reach out to, so that we can measure that, okay, how much more effort, or which area requires more effort for us to have a successful initiative.
Yeah, and I mean, I could talk about this all day, so I'm not going to because I feel like we have a we have another piece to go into, and I feel like I'm gonna save my pieces of conversation for this one because I'm all about inclusivity, right? So diversity and inclusion, because I love how this whole conversation just flows. Um, so when we talk about diversity and inclusion and like, the equality scale dynamic, we look at quantum being like a free for all. Like what's to stop another community from learning the same things that we've learned, and why can't we share the development process so that other, communities can show us how they use and utilize the same kind of prominence that we're using. So when we look at diversity and inclusion, this is what comes to mind. So, what strategies have you found effective in promoting diversity within the quantum tech community through OneQuantum Africa? We'll work on that one first.
So some of the strategies we've tried to apply are, make an extra effort to reach out to, like, the underrepresented groups, like maybe try to make sure to have like initiative with girls only. So which is a high school that I learned at, is an all girls high school. So we are working on, we've had career fairs, and also we are working on workshops for them. But we're trying to be encouraging in that, we show them that, okay, they can also do this. We've also been sharing success stories of other women, such that they know, okay, because sometimes you're like, yeah, but what proof do you have about what you're saying? So when you hear the success story of someone else, you can be like, okay, if she can do it, there's a chance that I can also do it, that type of thing. So we've been doing that. We've also been working on like mentorship programs, so I feel sometimes all you need is that extra push, extra support to get where you want to be, and that extra encouragement. So we are like, okay, we try to provide that, so that you don't feel like there's a time where you've lagged. But yeah, so those are some of the initiatives we've taken to try and be more inclusive.
Yeah. I grew up in this industry not seeing myself on a constant basis, where oftentimes I'm the only female, let alone the only black female in a room with males as peers. And I essentially tell people you are what you see, right? So if you see the reflection in the mirror, you see your reflection in these spaces, then you want to mimic that same purpose and go after it yourself. So that opportunity, I'm hoping, starts to kind of matriculate into quantum so we can bring more women like you and I into this space and definitely expand on it. Because we need some help. We're lonely. So women and guys, we're all inclusive here. So if y'all hear this message, this is a broadcast, external announcement. Like we need some support, we need some help, and we're bored. We need company. So come to the quantum side. Um, so can you can you share? Yes, come to the side. It's like come to us. Um, can you share a success story where your efforts to promote diversity had a tangible impact?
So the initiative with the all girls high school that we had, so some of the students went on to university because most of them were mostly at the last years of high school. So it's interesting that even at the universities they have gone to, they are taking initiatives into starting quantum groups there. So we're excited, like, oh, okay, it's interesting in that these young girls that you have empowered now feel the confidence and the energy to be the driving forces at these universities to lead and start up such um, programs. So yeah, I think that has been really something we are happy about, and we hope to see more of in the future.
That is so awesome because like you're reaping the benefits early on and can see like the scaled programming where girls in high school are actually developing these prominent groups and like focusing on bringing that scope of work to like where they are so that they have the ability to impact themselves. So that's super awesome. um, so what challenges do you think remain in achieving true inclusivity in the quantum field, and how are you personally addressing them?
I think in these spaces there's still some unconscious bias. I mean, like, definitely, like, there's been a whole lot of progress in terms of inclusion, diversity, and equity, but I still feel like at times there's still some um unconscious bias that goes on, in that unconsciously some decisions are made, and one group is more prominent or dominate more than the others because unconsciously they say that. So we try to make sure that we have everyone represented, we have inclusion. So there's also the case of persistent underrepresentation, whereby in the same spaces there's still there's persistent underrepresentation of could be a certain group or the likes. So we try to make sure that we have tried to reach out to everyone, so that we are not in a case whereby we're like, oh, this person is not included, or they don't have internet access so they can be included. No, they don't have internet
Yeah.
access, so let's go to them. Let's work with them in person. Let's give them hard copy books if that's what it takes. Let's print out papers, to make sure that this information they also get it, and not just those who have it online. So those are some of the things we've tried to make sure that even in the allocation of resources, because there's still some limit to access to resources. So in ways that we try to make sure that, okay, everyone is at least included in the dissemination of that information and those resources.
Yeah, and even in our even in the US, we have diversity and inclusion issues here. So, I mean, it sounds like no matter where you go, there is a little bit of a conflict and a social bias that they don't really think that it's like it's such a thing as it being a norm that it's kind of ignored at this point. So, um, unfortunately, but fortunately, I'm glad that we can at least agree that that's a systematic thing. It's not just here, it's not just there, but we both have like the same nuances that we have to deal with. So dang and okay, like it's kind of crappy, but at least I know that we're definitely not so different. How do you engage with other leaders in the tech industry to promote diversity and inclusion on a larger scale? Like, what have you guys come up with?
So like you mentioned that this issue of like the topic of inclusion, diversity, equity. It's not only in Africa. It's the whole global thing. So with other leaders, we've been exchanging ideas on what others have done to help with this. If it means that oh, they've come up maybe with a certain, maybe come up with smaller groups, smaller target groups, to make sure that those people have representation. Um, so it's been a case of exchanging ideas and experiences, because like you mentioned that what to face. So it's a case of us exchanging ideas. Oh, how have you tackled it this way? And then with that exchange of information, I feel there's been growth. So yeah, it's been good talking to other leaders, because you get to learn from them how they've managed or how they are managing, and also get ideas on how we can also do it better.
Yeah, and I mean, it, like no matter where you are in the globe, we're all not so different. So we have the same crazy problems. We're all human, and we all have the same focuses, thank God, and we all have the same issues. So just bringing that honing in opportunity in this conversation about inclusivity and the diverse elements is actually kind of like it's calming in a way because we all have the same kind of structures to deal with. Um, so let's kind of pivot a little bit and talk about like technology awareness. So in quantum technology awareness, actually, what misconceptions about quantum technologies do you often encounter, and how do you address them?
I think the biggest, okay, like the main misconception I always come across is like, quantum as an emerging tech, it will solve all the world's problems. And like, that's not the case. Like, there's, I know the hype has to be managed. And so people believe that, oh, okay, it's going to be a problem-free world because we now have quantum technologies. That's not the case. um, there are cases where quantum is better than classical, and there are two cases where at present date, classical proves to be better than quantum. So it's like
Yep.
a work in progress, and there are certain things that are, like equity, diversity, and inclusion. It's not something that only quantum can work to solve, but it's also about us as people, as society. The efforts that we put to make these things work is what will also help it. So quantum will not itself solve all the world's problems. So it's always something that I start by telling people that, hey, like, I'm sorry to say this, but all the world's problems are not going to be solved by quantum. Like, there are things that we still have to do as humans, as society, to make sure that
Yep.
we are making the world a better place for ourselves. That, quantum cannot step in and, solve for us. So yeah, I think that's like one of the biggest misconceptions, that I believe that quantum will solve all the world's problems. It will definitely help, and it has helped and is going to do wonders for us. But there's still parts that us as society, as humans, have to do, and not just leave it to quantum.
Yeah, no, I 100% am behind you on that because I think we've tried to figure that out and say the same thing for computers and cybersecurity and all the IT structures that we have in place. Oh, this will solve the world's problems. And here we are still with the same world problems. So it's just a better way of honing in and tracking and dividing and conquering the things that are a consistent measurement of being basically human is. So we keep coming up with these things to make our lives a little bit more, I guess, easier to manage and have like this big impact. But at the end of the day, we as humans have to fix our own problems. And I think that that's something that we're going to have to figure out on our own, is how to stop gravitating towards things to fix it and fix it ourselves. So that's a really good misconception. I'm glad you brought that one up. How do you use media and public speaking opportunities to enhance quantum literacy? Because I know you've done quite a few platforms. I mean, you've got some you've got some speaking topics under your belt. So how do you use that to enhance quantum literacy?
Um, yeah, so there's platforms, like my oh most of the times opening statement is, Richard Feynman, who's like considered the father of quantum, talks about understanding quantum computing, and how it's like no one truly understands it. So yeah, just be gentle on me as I'm explaining this. But yeah, I try to be to help people understand that it's not some supernatural type of tech, or some, I don't know, something supernatural that oh, like a certain group of people has to do, or I try to make it to present it in a way that people can be like, okay, just it's a technology that if I'm interested in, I can also pursue. If my child is interested in, they can also pursue, and how inclusive it is. So I try to raise awareness of how inclusive it is, how it involves so many other fields. Because I've really grown to appreciate that quantum is not only for like the IT people or the physicists,
Yep.
or because I've learned about quantum and music, and felt like, wow, that's like an amazing combination. But then I've also learned about music and tech and how the two intertwine, and I think like it's very interesting. So yeah, I think just making people feel that it's something that if they want to pursue, they can pursue. It's not something that's too challenging to pursue, is how I try to portray it on when I get those opportunities on media to talk about quantum.
Yeah. And I mean, even art and other things like that, all of STEAM itself, they kind of all play on each other. So unfortunately, audience, you will never get rid of basic biology and math and all those other chemistry and physics when you go into quantum. But then at the same time, physics also includes chemistry and biology and math. So if you come into this element of STEAM as it is, you're gonna touch on something at some point where it has elements of other scientific knowledge and acumen to it. So you've been warned. Um, so some so what are some of the most frequent questions or concerns that you hear from the public when you talk about, or anything that's done around the basis of quantum technology?
So I think I would say the two main things are, one, can we do it? Is like a question where people ask like, do we have adequate resources? Like, am I smart enough for that? Or, along those lines, more of, can I do it? Which I always tell people, hey, if you are interested in something, if you're passionate about something, nothing is stopping you from learning about the technology, exploring it, pursuing a career in it. You know, if that's what you want, go for it. And something that we've also already mentioned about, cybersecurity, which I know girl shines, is people are also afraid in terms of security. Like, people are like, are we safe? Because people hear about, um, store now, decrypt later concept, and then they think, okay, so, you know, in the next few years, maybe quantum, growing bigger and better, our data is not safe, and so on. So I think those are things that people raise fears on if they can do it, and in terms of security.
Yeah. And all I hear when I'm hearing that explanation is fear of technology and self sabotage or imposter syndrome. That's literally all. And I promise you, it is no different over here because I mean, even when I went into quantum, I was like, this is new territory. But I also took the same step, same leap, the same quantum leap. See what I did there? Into cybersecurity, right? And so I was like, okay, imposter said, can I do this? Is this a thing? And I found out that I was able to like integrate so much background and knowledge into this space and structure and kind of make it my own. So I hope that people hear that this is constant in your regard when you talk to the public and they hear, oh, can I do this? Oh, I don't know if I can do this. And then they hear, oh, there's a fear. Oh, it's going to take over the world. Oh, it's going to be cybernetics and, Arnold Schwarzenegger's version of Terminator coming out and all this other crazy stuff. Like this is not what we're gearing towards. We're not trying to do all of that. We're just trying to survive and thrive as human beings. So please knock the imposter syndrome out, self sabotage taken away, and stop fearing technology because it's here to stay. You're gonna have to deal with it one way or the other. So, in what ways are you working to demystify quantum tech for the average person?
So I'm trying to present quantum in a way of, like for the average person to know that, um, quantum is simple and it's like, for everyone. And also, I feel like when you hear the success stories of others, like when I joined quantum, I also got to learn about other women and quantum and the Africans. She was actually a lady from South Africa. I was like, oh, okay, so there's a chance I can make it. So share success stories of others, and tell people like there are pros and cons to everything. Like there are two sides of a coin. So I feel like quantum is also a coin. So people should also know that okay, yeah, there is potential of this, potential of that. This has been done, this hasn't. It will not solve the world's problems, but it can help with this and that and that.
Yep.
So I try to, you know, share about quantum as openly and honestly as I can and not build onto a hype that, the world is going to be all perfect because we are quantum. No, but certain things are going to get better, hopefully, maybe the transport system when it's optimized, it's a better system. Hey, that's a win. So yeah, I try to shine the light on the win. Also talk about, the potential fears and how those are being worked on also, so that people are not like, oh, okay, people are just focused on this. What about the other side of the coin also?
Yeah, the fear. They just got to get rid of that. I mean, you weren't afraid to pick up that iPhone or that Samsung Android phone. So why fear technology like this? It's just gonna, track and trace and hone in on something more developmental for your everyday life and just improve your overall scope of, your livelihood. So I mean, take it as it comes, a piece of, technology that is going to enhance and provide some type of like prominent circumstance. So, so with that in mind, I can talk about this all day. I know Lorraine can, but people need breaks. So I think that this is a decent pause to promote a bit of rejuvenation. So feel free to promote the Heinsberg uncertainty principle by promoting momentum or practicing an implication for particles at rest. But however you choose to break, I know I took it there. I took it real quantum, real physics. But however you choose to break, yes, we do that here. We will be back in a few minutes. So just make sure you watch that time clock tick down, and me and Lorraine will be right back with some more stuff, insights on career paths and all kinds of things. So, yeah, definitely stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, we are back, and I think the audio is good. Lorraine, you can hear me, right?
I can hear you, and I hope you can hear me too.
Yep, I got you. All right, cool. So we're gonna keep going. All right, so beautiful. And audience, welcome back. I trust you've refreshed your wave function. So let's jump back in and continue to navigate the probabilities of our quantum world. So career insights. We want to discuss career path insights. So, can you discuss your journey from your Bachelor's of Science in Information Technology to becoming a quantum developer and researcher?
All right. So that happened. My bachelor's was in information technology, but in my final year, for my final year project and dissertation, the university allowed me to work on quantum. I was fortunate enough to have a supervisor or flex and was like, okay, let's jump into that and explore that. So yeah, I was the first student at the university to do that, and I'm glad they supported and let me do that. So with that, I got to learn some concepts that I still apply today, like as a quantum developer and researcher at like Stafford Computing. But I also had an internship prior to that with Kemia. We also got to learn more about quantum computing and the industry. But other than that, yeah, when you learn, like I mentioned, when you learn a concept, you're interested in it, um, Stafford Computing is working on quantum machine learning, which is something that I'm personally interested in. So yeah, I got the opportunity to jump right into that. So definitely don't feel limited by your background in terms of what you want to pursue, because mine is in
Yep.
IT, but yeah, I'm in a career in quantum computing. So yeah, it's something that interests me. Jump on it.
Yeah. And I mean, my background is in biological sciences. So it doesn't matter what background you come from, you can definitely fit into quantum. So what pivotal moments or decisions shaped your career path in quantum tech?
Um, when I first like learned about quantum computing, so that was through OneQuantum Africa. So that same maybe few months, I learned about, I think, two workshops. One from by QWorld, and the other one was by Qubit by Qubit. And I think at that time IBM was also having, I think it was a whole challenge. So I was like, you know, for me, I feel like something that has helped me in my journey is saying yes. So yeah, it helps to, when you get an opportunity and say yes, try it. If it doesn't work out, it's like it's still okay. The good thing about being human is we are not perfect, so don't
At
expect
all.
everything to be perfect. Yeah, if you fail, that's okay. Jump on to the next opportunity. So for me, a pivotal moment was when I was going through those three at the same time, and then I got to a point where I was like, like I really like this quantum technology, and I really wanted to explore it, but I don't think this is for me. I don't think I'm cut out for it. The math is too hard for me. I don't understand the concept. So I think I'm done. So at that moment, I talked to my man. I told him, yeah, thank you for exposing me to this. And that was the moment he told me, you know, like, why are you giving up? It's just one hurdle. And he taught me about, asking for help. It's like, why are you trying to do this alone? Like, no one is doing quantum alone. Like, ask for help. You're not learning in an isolated environment. Like, you have
Right.
peers, you have other people on those paths that are also learning. So reach out to them, ask for help, and continue learning. So I did that, and I managed. But at that moment, I remember it was in November 2020. At that moment, in that afternoon in my room, I was like, I really want quantum, but I can't. So I'm done. And, so that moment when he encouraged me that, no, like, ask for help, you can do this and continue. And I did. I didn't know it would bring me this far. I mean, if I had stopped quantum, then I don't think we would have met like this.
At all.
And I'm
Yep.
glad we did.
Well, I would have found
So
you
yeah, that was it.
regardless. I would have found you regardless.
probably. So yeah, so that was a very pivotal moment for me whereby, I got that encouragement and, I was like, okay, I can do this. Let me keep trying. And I did. I mean, I was not successful in all, but in those that I were, I was happy. And from those that I went, I also still did manage to learn something. So it was a very pivotal moment for me.
That's yeah. And the fact that you actually remember like a day is kind of funny because like if you can pinpoint, that means you were really honing in on trying to make sure you stayed in the game for a long-term path. So how do you stay, particularly how do you stay up to date or updated with with this consistent evolving field of quantum computing?
Yeah, that's a good question because I also got asked that before because like, there's so much change that is, like with any technology. I mean, we already talked about,
Right.
about those big phones, and the
Yep.
dial-up phones. So, the same thing with quantum. Like for me, stay updated. So I'm signed up on a lot of newsletters that I do, to keep track of things. I also, keep a good eye on LinkedIn because, like a lot of information is shared there. Um,
Yep.
I also think that once you are associated with a certain tech or thing, I get messages from people now because, people who know me now associate me with quantum. So if someone bumps into something about quantum, they will send it to me and like nothing say, they'll just send it to me like, oh, you're the one who deals with quantum, and they send it to me. So yeah, that helps me keep updated. Another useful resource for me has been my dad. My dad does a whole lot of reading. Like, he reads more than I do. So, he in reading all that, he tells me, oh, did you know this, did that? And I'm like, oh, okay, I did it. So yeah, he's been very helpful and instrumental in trying to keep me updated in things. But yeah, the newsletters, the connections, and so once you're interested in something and people associate it with you, people will just make sure that information gets to you and just stay updated.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have like a whole group of people that they know you're in this for the long haul. So they just toss you knowledge aside from, regular publications, connections, networking, other opportunities, conferences, all this other stuff. Okay, so good. I was actually taking notes just to make sure I stay up to date. But since I know that you're doing the same things that I'm doing, I'm on the money. So that's good. um, so, so what skills? I try to. I'm ever so a sponge. I swear. Like I learn from everybody, including you, because I need to keep up to date for sure. What skills do you believe are essential for someone starting in the quantum technology field today? Like, what do you think are essential skills?
I think it's good for you to be passionate about this technology. And I feel communication is an important thing because you need to learn to ask for help. Like I tried to do this on my own, and like I just recently shared, I failed dismally trying to do it on my own, and I was going to get. So you need to have those skills of, be always in a place where you feel comfortable to say, Amber, I need help, and then you
Yeah,
get help from there. And that's how you grow in this place. Because the moment you're alone, you don't ask for help. Sometimes you're struggling with, like you mentioned that, you're trying to reinvent the wheel of something that has been done, learn from people who have done it, adapt, and maybe even improve. So I feel, communication skills. Like these are some soft skills, but I feel like they're also important because having mathematics does help, and some programming, of course. But I also feel you should not turn a blind eye to the soft skills that are needed. So those are the communication skills where you can ask for help, and those help you to also be able to collaborate with other people and to learn and to grow. So,
yep,
these are skills that you should carry with you in your bag if you really want to thrive in this space.
yeah, heck yeah. And speaking of thriving, that like I'm telling you, we pinpoint the next conversation pieces really well in this conversation for sure. Because next we're going to talk about like mentorship and like career growth. Um, so like how has mentorship played a role in your career, and how do you approach mentoring others in quantum computing?
Yeah, so that's a good one because like now I'm like always telling people about mentorships and having a mentor because it has really taken me a long way.
Yeah,
Because I look back and I think, okay, if I had been trying to do this on my own, would I have made it? And I felt, my mentors have really done a good job in, teaching me. They could be soft skills, they could be the technological skills, because, quantum is not sort of like a single entity. You also need
right.
to have, the soft skills in the field, to thrive in it. So mentorship has been so important to me that, even when I wanted to quit, my mentor helped me to realize, no, you can still do it. I've been encouraged. I've gotten exposed to opportunities that have helped me get where I am today by my mentors, and even today to get the encouragement, the support, and sharing of ideas that okay, you can do this, try that. So to me, my mentors have allowed me to stand on their shoulders to see further, and that is what I try to do, to make sure that if someone, if I'm mentoring someone, I want them to be able to stand on my shoulders and see even further. Because when they see further, I can also, they can tell me what they're seeing, and I'm like, oh, okay, so the road is clear, the future is bright. So I the same way others have been instrumental, supportive to me, is the same way I'm also supportive, checking up on my mentees to make sure that, okay, are you good? What do you need? Because sometimes people are hesitant to ask for help. So, at
Yeah.
least I want them to know that, I'm a resource at their disposal. But if others have allowed me to see further, I also want others to see further than what I've seen. And, the chain continues and continues and continues.
Yeah, and especially being that like approachable knowledge, because a lot of people are kind of fearful, kind of shy, and don't really want to walk up to somebody that they either admire or have talked about to other people or anything like that. And that actually, it kind of answered the the other question that I was going to ask about like mentor relationships and like the impacts of like your professional life, because of course, when you're mentoring somebody, you always find mentees as well. So there are people that you'll run across that they're not really specifically your mentors, but they need some guidance and support. So, like that example in itself, like had a twofold answer that you have like this miraculous, mentality to figure out the questions that I'm gonna ask. So, like I love it. That's good because that helps me stay on track, right? Um, so with that in mind, what strategies do you use to effectively mentor, um, or what strategies do you use to ensure effective mentorship within OneQuantum Africa?
All right. So, like I'm Shona. So in Shona, we have a saying that says, "Ngoma inoro waitapita," like you hit the drum when it's so hot. Like those ancient cow skin drums. When they are hot, when you hit them, they make a good sound. Yes, I also
Right.
do some drumming, but they make
Okay.
the best sound. So in that, it's just saying, when someone is interested, don't wait too long until they've lost interest, or to help them. Like if someone is interested now, help them then, like
Yeah.
whilst the drum is too warm, hit it, and you get the best sound. So at One Quantum, we try to make sure that those that need the support, we give it to them and offer it to them when we can. It's not always that we have a certain resource, but we are connected to someone who has the resource, so we at least bridge the gap and connect them to someone with that resource and make sure they're helped. We've also been really, um, advocating for mentorship, and telling people that it's a very, something that might seem small, but it really goes a long way in helping you in your career and your efforts and in the technology. So we have been helping, with mentorship programs. There's even a mentorship program in Zimbabwe called Mentorship Team. But people are just assigned mentors in different fields, like across the country. So those are some of the things whereby you feel, yeah, you're assigned a mentor, or you get connected to a mentor and you're a mentee, and you get, you know, assistance with whatever you need, or some guidance, or just support, because maybe you're doing well, but you just need that extra encouragement, that extra push. So yeah, we're trying to really do that and hit the drum more so well.
And there you have it. And only that also kind of played into the next question that I had for like nurturing potential. Um, because you want to be able to kind of hone in and focus on like those people that aren't so apt to come and talk to you, and really identify their potential for learning. So yeah, the nurturing talent piece was also kind of, I mean, I'm telling you, like you're answering like all these questions, but I mean, do you have anything else that you would kind of like identify as a focus to potential talent within the quantum community that you would kind of like, okay, well, I already know this kind of scope, but let's look at this. Like, is there anything that you would like? How do you identify the nurturing potential in talent?
I mean, most of the times, you can realize someone's, passion, that, okay, they're really interested in this, and, they're really making a follow-up on this. And, you know, we try to, I mean, as much as we try to expose and create awareness about quantum technologies as a whole and at large, we also try to make sure that, okay, we know the person is more interested in the, mathematical side of things, the mathematical aspect of quantum. Why not expose them to that? Why not connect them with people that will help them nature and grow in that space, because that's what they're interested in. Yes, there's, the physics side of things, the mechanics side of things, but they are more interested in the mathematics side of things. So why not help them grow in that space, because that's where their passion lies, that's where their strength lies. And so we try to also do that in helping people narrow it down and, figure out where they want to go from there. If they want to stay broad, that's okay. They can take their time to decide. But when it's time to narrow it down, we also try to make sure that, we connect people to the right dots that help them grow and nature them in the right path that they are interested in and that they want to follow.
Yeah. And I mean, that leads kind of into the perspective of like the future of quantum in Africa. So, what do you envision the future of quantum technologies in Africa will be, and like what steps are necessary to get to where you think they would kind of propagate?
So I hope in the future, like I know there are some universities and institutions in Africa that are offering quantum as like maybe high school courses or university courses, but I envision a future whereby, it's like at any school you have that opportunity if you want it, like there's that, it's at everyone's disposal, like it's that much at everyone's disposal. And it would also be great to have, actual labs in Africa whereby, people can be like, can really see, touch, feel these things such that, it really becomes real. So I really hope for a future whereby, quantum is like, anyone who wants to learn quantum, like, it's at their disposal, like it's that, disposed to them. And I felt maybe to get there, there's still a lot of work in terms of having government and people in academia, be like, okay, this is something we want. Because when people in academia get interested, they also need to learn so that they can also teach others. So hopefully, people are more open to learning so that they can also teach others. And then from there, it like peels off and then it grows. And people can start also thinking about, okay, I've learned this. Maybe let me have a startup in this in terms of quantum, and maybe work on other projects in that manner. So I'm really hoping for a future where we actually now have like startups in Africa
Yeah.
whereby, people are not just at school and, they're now having their own startups and, or learning, or this company is actually solving this problem with quantum. That would be really
That
amazing.
would be really cool because I mean now you have the hands-on tangible objects to complete some of your experiments. So what emerging trends in quantum tech do you think will be most influential in Africa in the next decade?
Um, I think like I mean definitely optimization has been mentioned and like is showing that it has a lot of potential, and I'm looking forward to seeing what can be done to help with that in Africa. But with optimization, I'm looking forward to things like, in terms of agriculture. I mean, I tried to do some gardening, not always successful because I'm competing with so many animals, elephants, baboons, monkeys, and so on. But yeah, so, in that agricultural space, I'm really hoping and thinking that in the future, either fertilizers can be worked on, can be, improved to make um, the farming better, the predictions in terms of weather patterns, and even in terms of soil richness and the like. So I'm really hoping that, in the next few years, agricultural still really thrives on quantum and, is massively improved and, there's like better food produce.
Well, and that talks a little bit about this next question that I have about like just international initiatives. So, like, how do you how do you collaborate with international quantum initiatives to bring that cutting edge technology to Africa?
So, I mean, with international collaborations, we always, it's about, information exchange. Some of the things we're interested in, others have already done. So, we try to learn it and we try to make it a case of, we are sharing and exchanging information. Also with like maybe the project like with insecurity, whereby, we actually get exposed. We also get to see in certain labs that we get to see, oh, okay, they're trying this could work. So yeah, with enough resources, we can also do this. So yeah, really about the information exchange and then thinking about the collaborations that we can come up from those partnerships that will help us also in Africa to grow and develop and get to the stage where we are aiming to be.
Yeah, and the development is definitely there. I hope that people take this into account for sure, especially with like developing quantum technology in a new like remnants of a field. So like it acts differently in one country, whereas in another country it's completely transposed and it acts completely different. So here we might be looking at it for infrastructure and technology placement, whereas you guys look at it as agriculture and the formalities of electricity and like water flowing and conductors and things like that. So like depending on where you are on in the globe, depends on how you would like fortify whatever that knowledge base is and bring it to its own potential and light in that region. So that's awesome that you guys can actually like manipulate the global concepts and put them forth in knowledge for your own inclusivity projects. What infrastructure improvements are needed to support the growth of quantum technology on the continent?
I think definitely, creating a workforce so that includes, making sure that people want to learn, have the resources to learn and, experiment and um, try out what they're learning. So I feel like, creating of a workforce by, either it be people who are taught, the teachers, and then they also get students. But yeah, a case whereby some sort of workforce is created in that people are educated in quantum is I feel is important because it also helps people start thinking about what uses can they where can they apply quantum computing, and then I think it's also good to have like the actual labs, people to try out these things. I mean, it would be so interesting to also, see a quantum computer. I'm like, oh, okay, so that's what it looks like. I mean, it's a whole infrastructure. Or even carry out, the actual physical experiments and see how things actually really work. It would be interesting. So hopefully with enough resources, such infrastructure can be developed and then people can be as hands-on as they want to be or theoretical as they want to be, because you don't want people to be limited, yet they want to try out these things. So you want to help them have as many resources as possible to try out all these things.
Yeah, and I have some. I'll have to dig them out by the end of this, but if I can find, I did show like a quantum computer in one of the previous engagements. I don't know if you were able to see it, but if I can dig it out of my enclave, I'll definitely pull it in so that the audience can see it from this opportunity as well as the last one that we did, because we did have a technology and quantum talk, and I brought one of the interactions of that quantum computer that I had, which was pretty cool. So I'll look for it while we're talking, and then I'll bring it up just to kind of show people what it looks like. So how do you leverage, and this is based on like global quantum community, not just like Africa, but how do you leverage global networks and communities to enhance quantum understanding and application in Africa?
So with quantum computing, your collaborations and like your network is your network. So, those networks, it's important for them to understand where you're at and where you want to get to. So, it's always important to set clear goals and objectives, because I feel, when people know what you're trying to achieve, what your goal is, it helps them in knowing how they can help you. So, in this collaboration, it's always important that, people understand where you're at and where you're trying to get to, so that they can also be like, okay, in that regard, we can do this from where we are, from the standpoint they're at.
Right. And just so you know, like I did find them. So let me flash them on the screen for people to kind of see like real quick. So hang on, let me throw these up here. So I don't know if you were able to see those, but if you were, they were pretty cool. So the photos that I put up were actually the model from IBM, because we talked about IBM a lot on here because they're one of the forefront knowledge bases organizations that are bringing quantum to life. And so I was able to see one of the last quantum computers that IBM placed at one of the conferences, because they were doing like, these different conferences all over the US and I think global too. But this was the actual last time that they brought a quantum computer, and I just so happened to be at the conference and met up with a few of the people that I collaborate with at IBM, and they showed me this, and I was able to take pictures. So I popped them up on the screen, just to show people what quantum computing looks like. It's not this big, crazy, robust machine. It's definitely just a little bitty microchip with, negative Celsius degrees, where it's like the coldest place in the universe. It's a whole thing. Um, so let's go back to the questions. I like show and tell, so sorry. What partnerships have you been most beneficial? Oh, well, what partnerships have been most beneficial to OneQuantum Africa?
So the partnership with Keysight Technologies was beneficial in that they helped with the mentorship program. So that was also very, very good for us, because, like we already talked about the benefits of mentorship and how that can help one move from one level to the next. So yeah, that really helped people in terms of, their career growth. Other people even got jobs from those mentorship programs. So yeah, we're really happy with the result of that partnership and mentorship program.
Well, I mean, other than the known factors, there are other organizations that play a big part in, like, you know, the collaboration efforts and partnerships. So yeah, if you're into quantum technology and you want to learn more about it, definitely check out OneQuantum Africa. Definitely check out QZimbabwe. Definitely check out AWIS DC and IBM. They have quantum networks, and you can actually tinker around with their quantum technology online as long as you actually, do an interface structure for your own site and everything. Like they have the accesses to that, which I am using. Um, and just, Google quantum technology and you'll find out how many companies are actually invested in this crazy trajectory of knowledge. Um, so how does being a part of a global community affect local quantum initiatives?
Um, so being part of a global initiative helps you realize that, okay, so like so much growth has happened. Like you get to realize that, you'd be thinking, oh, okay, we are still far off, but you get to realize, okay, so like a whole lot of development has happened. So it helps you think about, you know, okay, so what can we also do locally? Like in our capacity, what can we do? Because we have seen the potential of what can be done. So in our capacity, what can we do? So I feel like it also helps motivate us to be like, oh, okay, we can try this, we can try that, to get ideas. So I feel like it's a very good in helping us see the potential of the technology and help us think about what we also can do locally with the technology.
Yeah. Um, And so, like with that in mind, what are the key factors in building a successful international collaboration in quantum tech?
I think some of the key factors in like building a successful collaboration include, things like, setting clear objectives and, setting your goals like, we're at this point, we're at point A, point B. People know, the basics of quantum computing, people know linear algebra. But with that, we want to be able to be at a point where we can be able to optimize, some power grid. So like how do
Right.
we get there? So, with those clear set goals, people can be like, okay, yeah, there, you want to get to there, and we can help you in this way. So once you know what you want, I feel like it really, goes a long way in helping you get
Yep.
there.
Yeah. Because then, I mean, you've already identified a problem or a measurement of opportunity, and you're able to talk to people that you know are already either testing or vested in that knowledge, or they have some type of community effort that they can support you with to make sure that you reach your goals for sure. So that's a very good point. So with the avenues of trying to promote inclusivity and promoting the inquisitive knowledge of bringing quantum into the constructs of Africa. We also have to talk about barriers because I mean everything has a barrier, right? Everything has a little bit of a work stoppage, a workflow, issue. Things are ebb and flow. So we're going to talk about those for a little bit. So what are the main barriers in quantum education in Africa, and how does OneQuantum Africa work to overcome those challenges?
Maybe one of the main barriers is not enough manpower to help with our mission. Like,
Yep.
we are not, there are not as many people who are in a position to be like, okay, I can teach this group, I can teach that group and share that information. So, we don't have that strong of a workforce to help with this quantum drive. So in our effort, we try to make sure that when we have opportunities, either they be local or global, get as many people educated in terms of quantum as possible and give them platforms and align them for success in a way that they have the opportunity to teach other people, because that is how, the technology is going to spread. So, you teach one person, they teach five people, and, the chain reaction goes on. So I think one of our challenges is that, not enough people to drive our mission as far as we would want it to be, which is something we are working on to try and get more people on board, more people who are enthusiastic to, help with our mission, help volunteer, and work on these things so that we drive movement forward.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if you've been kind of paying attention to the chat, but we have colleagues in the chat room, so I don't know if you want to if you want to check them out. But I'm waving to everybody that has made mention to us in the chat room because I try to acknowledge the people that are focused and really honing in on the conversation at hand, and I appreciate everybody that has been really promoting this and talking about the series and coming in and listening to the series live as well as coming back and doing the replays because I know this is like we do go in depth a little bit. We do chat about a lot of different things, but I just want to make sure that everybody knows that we do see you. I do see you. Lorraine is definitely acknowledging the fact that you guys are existing, and so we hope that you're enjoying this thus far because I know seeing it from a different world, a different side of the globe is one of the things that I think will give us more of a focus and opportunity to really collaborate and build this effort and build more continuity on the planet. So that's my hope. That's my goal. So how do you adapt to educational materials? Well, how do you adapt educational materials to fit the technology resources available locally? Like, is there anything that you kind of do to make it more palatable, or how do you work that in?
Maybe I'll just add that something that we try to do is to make sure that like with this educational material, try to have use cases that are relevant locally or like in the continent embedded in the educational material such that people can go and try or think about exploring that avenue because like if we are to share examples or ideas or use cases that are too far from home, people will not have that opportunity to try and explore and try them out. So we try to also embed that in the educational material so that people can start thinking about, okay, how can I also apply this locally? How can I experiment with this and work on that? And it's something that they're involved in locally.
Yeah, and excuse the, I don't know if you heard that in the background. Hopefully you didn't. um, so it's literally like trains. So what has been your, I mean, whatever. What has been your most effective method for engaging students in quantum studies?
Um, People, I mean, I try to use as many pictures as possible because yeah, it's interesting to have pictures, but I try to be engaging as possible. Like try to make it be more like a conversation because they're learning from me, I'm learning from them because from their questions maybe there's also an area that I don't know about, then I get to learn about it. So I try to make it like an open dialogue, a discussion, not that I'm just giving information, but have it be an open dialogue so that people be like, okay, people are free to ask questions, they ask questions and they realize that you are also learning from them. So this is like an exchange of information, not just me giving them information. And yeah, I know we've talked about this, but yeah, people do like hackathons. People like being hands-on. People like, that idea of getting to work with other people, like, it could be working as a team, but that element of something that's just challenging or new is also an effective and interesting way for people to learn.
Yeah. Um, and so with that in mind, let's see, what infrastructure improvements are needed to better support quantum education in Africa?
Um, I think definitely more on the teaching staff, it would be great. I thought it would really go a long way. And also just, helping with the resources that are needed for people to learn. So this is like, internet access, the laptop or phone, the devices, the gadgets, because not everyone has access to those. But at least if they are made available, it would really help people in their learning journey. So yeah, the teachers or yeah, the teaching staff side of things, and also the resources like that, so hard phones, laptops, etc. devices that people will be learning on?
Well, I I'm hoping that we have promoted quantum in Africa so much that people are going to flock by droves to help cultivate all of the knowledge base and help you guys really like hone in on what you want to focus on to bring your agriculture, your climate, and everything that you want to do developmental wise and really, promote quantum in the area. I hope that this brings that to your front door, because like I'm too excited to see other organizations, other continents, other regions really focus and hone in on using quantum technology to further their like investment in their dialogue. So I hope that that is a thing that happens. I'm praying for it. That would be so awesome for us to do some collaborative efforts across the ocean, and you'll be a lot closer, but I won't put that out. I won't talk about that, but we'll you will be within arm's reach, but I'm definitely coming to Africa because
Yeah.
I need to come see it. So I'm coming out there, making plans. So now we're going to talk about a little bit about personal reflections and like personal advice that you would give people, because I mean, I would love to hear advice, just even if it's something that I've already heard, it's just resounding to me because it makes me feel like, okay, I'm on the right path, and people have like knowledge tendencies. So, reflecting on your own experiences, what advice would you give to young women in Africa aspiring to enter the field of quantum computing?
Um, I would say don't be afraid to say yes. It's like, give it a try. Um, and also don't be afraid to ask for help. Like I was so happy when at some point I was invited for this panel. It was old ladies, and I was vulnerable and mentioned that, I mentioned my 2020 incident of, I thought I'm going to, this is the end, because I was so stressed and I wanted to cry. And it's like, I don't even know these things yet. I really want to know them and I don't understand them. And, it was so comforting to know that, I was like, oh yeah, yeah. Like, at some point I also, it was also very challenging for me. And, so, so I was like, oh, okay, at some point it can get, you know, harder than other points, but it doesn't mean that you should give up. So don't be afraid to ask for help. I know sometimes people are told, asking for help is a sign of weakness. No, if you need help, ask for help. Amber, I need help. You need help with what? So always ask for help. Don't be afraid to work in groups. It has really helped me to, work with other people, because you get to learn more, you get to fill in some gaps that you had. So, definitely say yes, ask for help when you need it, and don't be afraid to try new things. You'll be fine.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that will really cripple you is that fear. So you have to get past the fear. It's really just getting out of yourself and putting yourself into a new situation where you're not comfortable, and that's called growth. So I mean, it's a growth opportunity too. What personal qualities have helped you succeed in this crazy new and challenging field of quantum?
I think like communication, it's always good. Like I've mentioned that, I used to be someone who was afraid to ask for help. Like I was so hesitant to ask for help. I was like, oh, maybe I'm being a bother, or, something like that. But now I've learned that, asking for help actually helps me get further. So, if I need help from me, I'm not going to hesitate to be like, Amber, I need help. Because, it helps by asking for help. You are, helping yourself get the help that you need to get where you want to be. I think it's also my passion for the technology, because I've, always been interested in tech. I've been interested in quantum. So it's something that, once you're passionate about, even when it gets hard, it's like, that passion is like a driving force to keep you going. That, I really want to learn this. I really want to understand this. I really want to help other people get this. So, it helps drive you with that. And I think flexibility and openness, like, yeah, I'm not hesitant to try new things because I'm like, oh, okay, let me try it. If it doesn't work, I'm human, it fails, we move on. So yeah, I'm like, flexible and open to trying new things. So those are some of the skills that have helped me get to where I am today.
Yeah, and I mean that almost answers my next question, but I'm gonna let you tell it because I want to hear specifics on this one. But Lorraine, with all the stuff you do, like I thought I was performing a balancing act. You surpassed me by leaps and bounds. So how do you balance the demands of your career with your professional development?
Um, so, you jump on opportunities and all, but also it's important to know when to say no because I mean we are humans. Sometimes, our fuel runs out and we need to reboot and the like. So, make sure that you are okay also, like take time for yourself. So I always try to
Yep,
make sure that, I'm doing this, I make sure I have a break, I do something that, I enjoy outside of, technology or my
yep,
career. But it always trying to create time for my social activities. It could just be me and you having a call and talking about, oh, it's so hot here, and I wish I had gone swimming. Yeah, it's just a social conversation that helps me refresh. So such things have been important and also helping me stay on track in what I'm trying to achieve.
yeah. And just so y'all know, poor Lorraine was subject to one of my vent sessions a few days ago. So let me tell you, she's superhuman because to sit through one of those is a thing for me. So so thank you. Um, so she's actually serious when she says like just talking conversations, just calling and just reminiscing about things or like going through some kind of situation, like just having that other person's scope really helps you with your own opportunities. So yeah, like thank you for being my listening person because that was needed. So with that being said, put myself on the chopping block. What is one piece of advice you wish you had received when you were starting your career?
Um, I think the one piece of advice I wish I'd received was um, ask for help. Like, don't try to do everything alone. Like I've spent time whereby, I'm trying to do so much on my own, and it becomes overwhelming. So I got to realize that if I'm not the best version of myself, I cannot be the best resource to other people. I mean, if I want to help
Yep,
other people, I have to be the best version of me to offer the best services or resources and, be helpful in community building and mentoring other people. So, I think the piece of advice I wish I'd gotten from the beginning is, you don't have to do it alone. Like, oh, you can ask for help, you can ask other people to do certain things. So yeah, I think for anyone who's starting out, I just want people to be aware that you don't have to do everything alone because sometimes it
yeah.
becomes overwhelming. And once you are not your best version, it's also a bit more challenging to reach the goals that you want to get to. But when you're your best version, you're okay, you're well refreshed, everything is good. You can, when you're your best self, you can also get the best outcome from whatever you're trying to achieve.
Yeah, clear head. You probably literally would figure out what you were trying to figure out a long time ago if you just get out of the frustration and go do something else, step away for a little bit, and then come back and you're like, oh crap, I should have figured this out a long time ago. This is an aha moment for me. And duh, like makes no sense why it took me this long. So yeah, you have to really quantum technology will humanize the best of us. So so with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and start like looking at the closeout juncture. So as we conclude our really thought-provoking and very personal discussion on quantum technology and the advancements of quantum technology and quantum computing, I'd like to invite Lorraine to share her parting thoughts on the discussion. So, Lorraine, reflecting on our dialogue today and anything we talked about in the background, from your resounding impact as president at OneQuantum Africa and a founding member of QZimbabwe, not to mention your continuous influences to science outreach and everything on the continent of Africa, to your new ventures as a researcher and scholar, like, can you share with the audience a final takeaway?
Um, I mean, thank you so much for this amazing discussion. It really was a great afternoon. I would say, I really hope that people who are interested in quantum get to watch this, get to learn from what we have talked about. But yeah, maybe my last parting words would be, ask for help when you need it. You don't have to do everything alone, and be open to trying new things. Like quantum is interesting, and whatever background you have, feel free to try it. And yeah, don't hesitate to reach out. I mean, there are infrastructures that are there to help other people. I mean, this
Yep.
platform that we are on today is like an infrastructure already that is set. AWIS is set to help us, and such infrastructure. So take advantage of them, and just enjoy the ride. You don't have to do it alone. Do it with others. Like no man is an island. So definitely, do it
Yeah.
with others and enjoy the ride.
Yeah. And I mean, like, we will probably see things coming out of the woodwork, like quantum law, quantum policy, quantum, like all these different genres, quantum biomedical, technology, or like all these other trends that will come out. So I can't wait. And that is going to be an awesome thing to kind of conceptualize and see kind of, echoing through the different types of careers that we have already in the spaces. So as we conclude this quantum technologies context, I would like to acknowledge, well, I'd like to acknowledge a few things, but I also want to congratulate my guest Lorraine on her leadership at OneQuantum Africa and her pivotal role in founding QZimbabwe. Lorraine, please consider this a virtual interaction of characteristic of an entangled embrace of congratulations, where like link quantum states. My appreciation and joy for your achievements and intertwined, resonating across the distances from the United States to Zimbabwe. And I mean, and I'm not even going to tell you, like, I see some people on the chat sequence that we've brought out people from Senegal, we've brought out Zimbabwe, we've brought out Zambia. So wave to y'all. Hey, how you doing? Thank you for tuning in. That is so awesome, because I thought that, I didn't have specifics. There's another young lady on here. I don't know where she's from, but hello to you too. And it looks like we're reaching a wider scope, a wider net has been cast that we didn't even think was even possible. So I'm so proud that we were able to talk about this and really expand the knowledge of quantum technology in Africa, and kind of like build the interweaving context of collaboration with us here in the US and the UK. So I mean, this is getting big, Lorraine. I hope you have a really good backpack, because you got a lot of things to carry, girl. So we want to acknowledge also her priceless contributions and insights shared with us today, especially her perspectives on quantum computing, technology, advocacy, and educational outreach. To the audience, we trust that today's conversation has not only irradiated the transformative potential of quantum technology across Africa, but also inspire interest in this dynamic field, motivating you to either launch your own initiatives or enhance your current endeavors with a fresh, enthusiastic understanding of the concept of quantum computing. So please do me a couple of favors. Keep an eye out for the next STEM speaker series. Like, subscribe, comment, and leave questions for us. We have details coming soon. Oh, the young lady messaged back and said she's in the USA. So hey, we got the US in the house. We good. I'm glad. So hey to everybody in the US that tuned in as well. Um, but representing coast to coast, I appreciate it. So make sure you subscribe to us because I have some really good. I mean, all my speakers have been phenomenal, but we keep them coming. So we have a few more speakers down the line. I plan on doing a special series where we have a collection, like a assortment of a few panelists that come from all different genres to come and talk about how they support women in the spaces and how they are all inclusive and bringing that dynamic to their career paths as well. So look out for those types of things too. So thank you for joining us today and exploring the intricate world of quantum tech and computing, moving the edges of universal technology and inclusivity. I am Ambericent alongside with my dynamic force in physics and new AWIS DC ally, Lorraine, and together we are empowering women in science one discovery at a time. I love that. So, Lorraine, it's time to bid them adieu, and we'll come
Oh,
back with another person. I know, I hate it, but we gotta go. But bye, everyone. Thank you for tuning in, and we hope to see you soon in another outlet for AWIS DC's STEAM Speaker Series. Ciao for now.